The American educational system is failing its students, as we're all well aware, and we'll highlight some of those stories in a little bit. However, what we're going to see today is Bill Maher actually coming to a consensus with his panel, Donna, Brazile, and Killa Mike, over the simple fact that, yes, the Department of Education isn't doing what it's supposed to and most likely should be completely dismantled. But before we begin, don't forget to like, share, and comment and subscribe on this video so we can break through the algorithms. Here we go.
Let me ask you about education. Yeah. It's going to be a big issue. Linda McMahon is the Department of Education Secretary. She was talking this week about, we know the Republicans have wanted to shut it down since 1979.
Correct.
When it was founded. So it's not been there forever.
Not long.
Okay. She says it would not mean ending federal support for education, funding for low-income students, students with disabilities. That predates the education movement, and that would continue, as would protecting students' civil rights. She said it's mostly a pass-through for funds that are best managed by the states. This stuff does not sound too unreasonable to me. New York Magazine had an article that came out today. It's called "The Big Fail." Here's the quote that they had on the cover. "Student achievement has fallen off a cliff, and neither Trump nor the pandemic is to blame." Why do we need the Department of Education if it has done such a shitty job? Kids don't come out of school. First of all, they can't read or do math anymore, and they don't know anything. I really do feel like the Democratic Party, this has been their portfolio for a long time, education.
Right.
Okay. So I feel like if they're going to get back in office, they have to own this issue a little, because a lot of the states that are doing better now are like the southern states.
Really? Which one?
Mississippi.
Mississippi's getting better than Louisiana?
See, you're in a bubble.
I'm in a bubble.
You didn't get that story.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad Mississippi's getting better, and I hope Alabama. But look, all I know is that we've made a lot of improvements, but we have a long way to go before we have a society where everybody get a head start and an equal start in life. I don't believe that this is a Democrat or a Republican problem. This is a whole of society, okay? I mean, we have put a lot of weight and a lot of pressure on our teachers to do the job that our parents and our community should also be doing. I am a proud graduate of America's public schools. I'm grateful for the support. It's the great equalizer. Have they fallen short in some areas? Yes. But to dismantle a huge federal department and to create all this confusion that the Labor Department is going to do this, Interior is going to take over indigenous this, we still don't know what is the next step with dismantling education.
I, like Donna, I'm a product of public school education. And uniquely in Atlanta, I'm from a city that's majority black. Majority of the schools are named for and inspired by black revolutionaries, black educators. I went to Frederick Douglass High School. Our rival high school was Benjamin E. Mays High School. Benjamin E. Mays was president of Morehouse College, of course, the famous college Dr. King went to. These schools had a great rivalry because you had working class kids at school with working class kids, poor kids, and rich kids. All these kids are black, but they have to sharpen their skills against one another. There was a spirit of competition. We up by becoming test-taking centers. Well, No Child Left Behind left a lot of kids behind. School choice pulled the best premium kids out of public schools and left them alone together. And then you got a bunch of kids who were aspirationally wanted to be better, but they didn't have a kid next to them saying, you can do it, who already understood calculus. So we failed our kids. And as adults, we need to say, pay teachers more. Give teachers the lowest home loans you can possible to live in their districts. Teachers, policemen, and firemen, I believe, because these are some strong civil service cornerstones. Before 79 and before education went strictly to test taking and reading, writing, arithmetic, they also had trades in their schools. At the time Dr. King went to Booker T. Washington High School, he not only had to learn reading, writing, arithmetic, he had to learn how to upholster a chair or how to build something with a hammer. Our educational system needs to look back into when we were successful. And prior to 79, you had everything from archery in schools to track, physical fitness was there, you had art and music, which Reagan set out in the 80s. So both sides have done, but you have to look at Democrats, I think, on a local level and say we need to do a better job. And that starts by saying we up. So we are failing public schools in this country, both parties. We need to recommit on a very local level. We need to stop being test-taking centers. We need to re-enter trades back into the schools and prepare our children for real life, including financial literacy as young as 5th, 6th grades versus what we're doing now.
I was talking to my brother, and he said, I'm going to tell my son, if he can't, finish up the math, go and get a trade. So we need it all.
My son is currently in trade school. Shouts out to Pony Boy.
But you're saying we shouldn't test? Is that what you said in there?
No, testing should not be the fight. They stopped testing and it got worse.
No.
Testing has become the only thing that teachers worry about because it determines how much money comes in. So the administration is pressing them.
Well,
there was a huge...
Colleges don't, some colleges now, a lot of the Ivies have gone back to testing, but before they did.
Yeah, they ain't told that to black kids yet. My baby still had to take the ACT and the SAT.
All right, I did not expect to be agreeing with Bill Maher, Killa Mike, and Donna Brazile on some of these issues. Now, it's true, Donna Brazile gave a little bit of pushback to closing down the Department of Education, but at least they all agreed that, yes, the American educational system is broken and needs some fixes. Because you have Linda McMahon out there saying, guess what? We're going to try to dismantle this organization because essentially it's useless. But you know what's going to stick around? Federal support for our educational system, support for low-income families, support for students with disabilities, right? All that stuff is still sticking around because it actually predates the Department of Education, as pointed out by Bill Maher. So in which case, what is the point of the Department of Education? Because our scores have not gotten better. Our kids have not gotten smarter, right? The state of education has not improved. Safety has plummeted, right? There is nothing good coming from Washington, D.C. on this subject. So yeah, why keep them around? And as I said, I was expecting some pushback, but instead what I got was an actual real conversation about the problems that are present in the system, okay? Because as Donna Brazile points out, parents, in my opinion, if you want to fix education, it starts in the home. Now, of course, teachers should be held accountable. Schools should be held accountable. Administration should be held accountable. But guess what? Students and parents need to be the most accountable because who's going to have a bigger influence on their kid's life than their own parents? And as Donna Brazile said, parents have basically abdicated their duties to the school system. And of course, that can actually explain a lot of the cultural rot happening in this country, a lot of the lowered moral standards happening in this country. So we have to hold parents accountable and we have to hold students accountable. And I actually love how Killa Mike brings up the idea of, hey, guess what? We have to reintroduce a lot of the stuff that's been taken out of schools, all right? All of the trades, financial literacy, physical education, right? We have to reintroduce all of the stuff, which, by the way, is something that Donald Trump has been advocating for, right? He just brought back the presidential fitness test. Not that it ever necessarily went away, but hey, let's make it a big deal again. Strong in mind, strong in body. But of course, a lot of this has to do with over the last 20 to 30 years in this country saying, hey, guess what? Every single student out there, you don't want to have to work with your hands, right? Be a laborer. There's nothing great about that. We want you to go to college and get a useless degree in women's studies or African American studies or something dumb like that, right? Instead of going out and learning an actual skill, an actual trade that will earn you hundreds of thousands of dollars without putting you hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt to one of these crazy colleges. Okay, that's the point. There are students out there who are not bound for college. All right, they instead have the ability to go out and do honest, hard work and make a heck of a lot of money. But of course, the push in this nation has been to get everyone to college because that is the only way you're going to succeed, which of course is a bunch of garbage. And this is something I actually mentioned to my students. Do I think that everybody should try a semester in college? Sure, why not? See if it's for you. See if you can find something that you actually enjoy doing and could be lucrative for you. But otherwise, get out of there because it's just going to suck away your time and your money. Go out there and learn a trade. Get a good job. Be productive. All right, that's what it's really all about, is preparing kids for the future. Okay, but instead, we get a whole bunch of garbage like what we're seeing in Baltimore, right? Back in 2023, 13 Baltimore City high schools had 0 students who were able to pass their proficiency in math exams. All right, this is completely ridiculous. Not one student in 13 schools were proficient, all right? We are failing the kids when it comes to this regard. However, notice that Bill Maher mentioned Mississippi. Mississippi has been an exceptional story because they were 48th in the nation, and guess what? Now they're up to 16th. And why did they do this? Because they refocused on the fundamentals, reading, writing, and arithmetic, right? And all these failing schools out there that are focusing on equity and diversity and gender studies, right? What are they not focusing on then? Actual education that will be useful for students, which is why it was so refreshing hearing these comments from Donna Brazile and Killa Mike, all right? Because I was prepared to talk about what the Democrats normally say, right? Leave the Department of Education alone and just give them more money. Throw money at the problem. But that doesn't ever work, right? If we pull up some simple statistics over here, per student spending, spending, notice that New York is number one with $33,000 per student as of 2024, right? Vermont is second, New Jersey is third, Connecticut is fourth. But if I scroll all the way down to the bottom, let's see who spends the least amount per student. Oh, Idaho and Utah, $9,000, 900 in Utah, 9,300 in Idaho, okay? But where do they rank on actual performance? Okay, come up here to the top, Utah, number 4. They spend almost the least amount of money and they have almost the highest results. Now, why in the world could that be? I don't know, maybe cohesive communities where parents actually care about education. And Idaho was dead last, but where are they here? Oh, they're down here at number 21. Okay, so even though they spend dead last in spending, they're still well above halfway in the nation. And New York, the state that actually spends the most, where are they placed? Oh, let's just keep perusing down until we find them. Oh, 31st, despite spending the most. So there is not necessarily a correlation between spending and how students will perform. But that, of course, is always the go-to for the Democrats. We've got to raise taxes so we can spend more on education, and then obviously our students will do better, which, of course, is a losing argument, as I just showed you. So if you really want to fix education, get the garbage out of it, focus on the fundamentals and basics, and of course, go ahead and encourage parents to be more active in their students' lives and really impress on the students how important education actually is, whether you're going to college or whether you're going to vocational schools and learning a trade. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and say hi to your mom for me. Do you like t-shirts? Of course you do. And now you can support the channel by buying an Angry Teacher t-shirt designed by me, Angry Teacher. So if you like America, if you like freedom, if you like liberty, then go ahead and click the link in the description where all designs, of course, are 100% mother approved. So enjoy yourself and find something you like today.